the majority, 43% of those students achieved 3 A-star to A overall, which is an incredibly high level of achievement, and it allows them to access, like I say, some incredibly reputable universities. And here are some examples of the universities that they attend. So for music technology, these may be some universities that you're not familiar with. So places like BIM or ACM, these are very specialist music schools, so music universities, that allow them to access, again, industry professionals and experiences. For media production, again, some of these are very specialist, very unique, new universities that offer access to top facilities. And for business, it's, again, very broad. Universities like UCL, Goldsmiths, Nottingham, Birmingham. Also, it's important to recognise that many of our students receive scholarships and unconditional offers in recognition of academic excellence. And that's just given them another, leg up, another, recognition, like I say, of the hard work that they put into their achievement. I'm going to hand back to Marie-Do now, who's going to talk to you about the IFP and GCSE options. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. So we also have two different sorts of programs for the GCSE students. What we have is we have a 2-year program which offers the traditional selections with the possibility of doing up to 9 GCSEs. And we have a 1-year fast-track GCSE, and in that particular program you can only do a maximum of 6 GCSEs. But looking at the results, as you can see there, they're pretty high. I think that it's not the sort of average results. They are very good indeed. And again, this is all due to the fact that you have the teachers who know how and the very sort of close support that our students receive. And from those 2 different programs, whether it is with 6 GCSEs or 9, the students can progress to a variety of courses, obviously the A-levels, but the BTEC as well. And for the international students, they may want to actually go for a 1-year program, which is called the IFP. And this is a program which is quite intensive. You do it in 1 year, and it's designed to be an alternative to the A-levels. And you are being prepared for undergraduate studies. So it's quite different. You do tests, you have 2 sessions in the year. You have the first one in January and the second one in June. And you will be able to obtain a diploma at the end of the year, which will lead to your success at university. Obviously, it is not marked in the same way, but I can tell you that this year, 98% of our students passed their IFP and 45% received distinctions. And that distinction is 75% plus, and that will give you access to the top universities as well. We have students going to the Russell Group universities with an IFP program as well. So there are different pathways. A lot of the students choose to go for the business or economics pathway. We also have a science one, art, music. We have, help me, we've got engineering, which is also very popular. So different sort of pathways to suit what you want to do. So I think we have actually here reviewed pretty much all the various programs we offer, and it might sort of really give you a chance now to ask questions or to be able to sort of quiz us on anything that you would like to hear more about.
Thank you, Marie-Do and John. That was extremely helpful and a really good overview of the different courses on offer at DLD College London. One question that came through was, is it possible to combine all subjects? Is it a free combination program, etc.?
In theory, yes. But I think we have a duty to really review with the students what they want to do afterwards. So it may be that it's not in the students' best interest to mix certain subjects, because universities are looking for a particular type of combination of subjects. So we will obviously listen to the students, see really what it is they want to do and what best combination would achieve that.
Thank you. Then we had another question about minimum requirements for taking GCSEs, A-levels, BTEC, etc.
So for the GCSE entry, we don't actually have a minimum requirement at the moment. We have an interview which is quite thorough. Certainly for students for whom English is not their first language, we would ask them to take an English test. That's absolutely essential. But otherwise, it's very much how we feel we can support the student. That is really the main thing. The second part of your question was for the A-levels. Well, we do need to have certain grades in specific subjects if the student wants to carry on for A-level. To give you an example, we're not sort of insisting on top grades for all our subjects, but it is undoubtedly the case that unless you've scored at very minimum 7 at GCSE for math, you're going to really struggle. And we try to find different ways of accommodating students so that they can do that. I think maybe you want to sort of comment on the minimum requirement. I think that it's really dependent on each subject and combination of subjects.
So yeah, I mean, for the BTEC programs and the A-level programs, we typically look at sort of 5 GCSEs, but as Marie-Do has pointed out, we really look at things on a case-by-case basis to really work out what the individual requires and what they need to achieve their ambition. And that goes for our GCSE program as well. We're very committed to the individual. We're very much about personalising learning. You saw Marie-Do's overview of the student support that we put in place. We do want to support students in achieving their goals and ambition. So that's really how we approach even our recruitment and interview process, I suppose. So yeah, I think it's a conversation, but we do want to ensure that the right preparation has been put in place to access the level of qualification. So we may make recommendations based on what each individual comes to us, what they want to achieve.
Thank you. That's really helpful. A question that has come in has said, what grades do the 5 GCSEs have to be?
So yeah, do you want to answer this?
I think that it has to be usually a minimum of a grade 4 plus. But again, we look at the individual. If a student has got, let's say, 6 GCSE grades and they didn't pass sciences, but they're not going to do anything connected to sciences, then it may not be a huge obstacle. So again, personalized.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about the journey that student has been on. So we do meet some students time and again, particularly in the domestic market, so here in the UK, who have maybe been a bit disenfranchised or disillusioned with their educational experiences, and the grades might speak to that. And they're coming to us because of the support that we offer them and the guidance that we offer them in achieving their ambition. So like Marie-Do says, it's very much on a case-by-case basis for that reason.
That's very helpful, because another question is about the retakes for GCSE. So if a student comes to you and does need to retake, what would you be advising then?
Well, I think that we would want to understand why the student needs to retake their GCSEs so that we can put in place the right support. Usually there is a question of chemistry as well between the teachers and the students, and there is also the atmosphere that, for us, the ethos of the college is that everybody can achieve. It's about sort of getting onto the right track to do to work smartly. That doesn't mean spending all hours, but to actually know what it is that will get you there. And not to be afraid of making mistakes, because actually you learn a lot from your mistakes. So I think it's just to be a little bit more aware of what learning is about. Learning is not about just achieving everything all at once. It's about taking steps and learning from each stage of your journey.
Brilliant, thank you. I have a question about A-levels. How many subjects can somebody take with their A-levels?
Well, I think the maximum for the timetable to accommodate sort of without problem is 4. But I would say that this is what we normally recommend students to choose to start with. But it doesn't mean that they will carry on with 4 subjects. And we need to be very clear here. Universities don't do offers on 4 subjects. They all do offers on 3. So what I would suggest is, if somebody wants to have a little extra, I would strongly recommend they do the EPQ to show their particular interest. And that will sort of be a much better way of demonstrating their interest for academia, for personal research, for, you were sort of saying...
Yeah, it's almost like a small dissertation. If you don't know the EPQ, it's the Extended Project Qualification. And it's basically a research and writing task that the students have to undertake. And it's accepted by, you know, all of the top universities, including Oxford and Cambridge. And you do get UCAS points attributed to that as well. So it's a really fantastic way of extending your learning and really focused on research skills as well. So it's beneficial to a whole plethora of different subjects.
Great, thank you. Question about music technology BTEC. What other subjects can be done with that, please? Presumably, John, you could answer this one.
Sure. It really depends on the progression route. So students that undertake BTEC Music Technology may also do music. They don't have to, but they may. So some of them choose to do music, some of them do media production because it's very much practical. So because they favour that style of learning, they like to combine it with the media course as well, and then they're learning about music and media, which is, like I say, very beneficial from an industry perspective. And then you've got other creative subjects like photography, art, which go very well with the music technology course. But I mean, we've got very broad curriculum, so you may have students who are interested in literature who are also interested in music because they may be writing their own compositions. So it's it's quite a difficult question to answer in some ways, but if they're looking to a progression route that's very much focused around music and music technology, then that would dictate the kinds of courses that they select to study alongside it. So a lot of the time it would be some of the creative courses like the arts-based courses or even some of the humanities courses. I hope that answered the question.
I think that there was a mention that what about math, about the music
alongside music technology,
yeah, which I think is yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You very often have musicians who are very good mathematicians as well. There's no problem.
Even maths and computer science, because obviously you're working with technology. Yeah. There's a degree of understanding that you need to have for that subject. So yeah, there's a number of different combinations, but typically, we've outlined some of the typical combinations there.
Thank you. Then another question that came in about the courses, whether they're fixed, which I think we covered. But Mary-Jo, do you want to expand a little bit again on that?
I think that the subjects are not fixed. I think that what is very important is that it's what's going to be best for the students. And obviously we've got different subjects which are available in different blocks so that we can combine a series of subjects together to suit the individual. But I mean, obviously, if you want to be doing something like art, sort of classical civilization and computer science, there isn't going to be a sort of obvious progression from that. And I think that we will try to tease out of the student what really is the interest. And there may be things which are interests, but not necessarily the best A-levels to do. Now, one thing that could be done with the EPQ, the Extended Project Qualification, is that you choose the topic. It is not something which is imposed. It's really totally reflecting your personal interest. So that may be a way to actually demonstrate something that you are particularly keen on, rather than do the A-level.
So I spoke to a student this week who's applying for medicine, who's doing an EPQ in art, for example, just to kind of tap into what Marido was saying there. So it doesn't need to be directly related to your progression route. They're using it as a means of learning more about a subject that they've long had an interest in. And it is academic, so they're still applying skills that are relevant to their studies, but they're doing it in a way that's allowing them to broaden their, cultural knowledge as well, which I think is a really fantastic advantage of electing to study that qualification.
I saw that there was a question which was about the split between boys and girls. Well, we don't engineer it, but it is actually sort of more or less sort of what is it, sort of 48, 52% type of thing. With so it's very, each year it seems to sort of even out very nicely.
Even by subject as well. You could be very stereotypical and say that, girls will tend to favour humanities and boys will tend to favour science, but we do tend to have a really good mix. There's a lot of mixing from group to group, so it's a really nice harmonious balance. Actually, it's lovely.
I saw another question which was about how we're coping with COVID. Is that it? So where we've had quite a good year last year. We didn't have any problems at all, and we had some boarders staying with us until June and no COVID. So what we have is very strong rules in terms of hygiene. Obviously, we've got hand sanitizer all around the college. We've got a one-way system. We have also sort of wipes for every single room. So when the students arrive, they wipe their table and their chairs. We've got a one-way system, I don't know if I said that already, in the college, so that you minimize the sort of meeting groups of people, traffic and so on. But actually the college is very big. And even when we've got lots of students in, it doesn't feel crowded at all. And we've got very broad and very wide corridors. So on the few places where it's a two-way system, you're never going to be sort of in sort of less than 1.5 meters from the other person. So it's quite a...
Could you explain a little about our online programme, because we successfully transferred within a couple of days during lockdown, didn't we?
To sort of say.
Sure. So we are really fortunate in that our teachers have a really broad, solid range of IT skills, and all of them are issued with their own laptop or their own Surface Pro. So that means that they all have their own camera, their own microphone. They've got access to all of their resources. So when we had to kind of pivot our delivery to move to an online learning model, when we went into lockdown, we were incredibly well prepared for that. We have an online learning platform called Canvas, where the students can submit work and receive feedback. It's incredibly interactive. So we very much prescribe to a model where we don't want learners being passive. We don't want them listening just to a lecture. We want them to actually do things and keep busy and stimulate their minds. So we've approached our kind of blended learning, which is a little bit of how we're working at the moment. That's how we approach that. We think very much about what do we want the students to do, not just about providing content, because that's not a very good learning experience. I should also add that we do quarantine any boarders that come in.
Yes.
So they don't just generally mix with the student population. They do stay in their rooms for 2 weeks, but they join lessons straight away. So they can they can start their learning journey. They can join the classes, they can learn about their classmates, they can learn about the teacher, they can get stuck into their studies, but they're not posing a risk to anyone or posing a risk to themselves in that situation as well. We also have thermal cameras at reception, and that will identify anyone with a temperature that's coming into the building, even if it's a delivery person, because that's the main entrance to the college. So we've put a lot of measures in. I think we're very, very well prepared, and we're doing very well. Just to answer the short answer of the how are we coping? We're coping very, very well. The students are really buoyant. They're really into their studies. The teachers are very positive and excited to be here and excited to be back in the classroom. Lockdown was a challenge, and a challenge that we rose to, but it's great to be back in the classroom, and it's great to be working with young people again.
As somebody has asked if we're doing visits, which we are doing, we're happy to be able to offer individual private tours. Obviously, we would need to go through the COVID checks and ensure that you've been in the UK for over the last 2 weeks, and then you'd obviously be temperature checked, etc. But we are able to offer that, and we always encourage people to come in and visit, because there's nothing better than coming into the school and seeing it in action and getting to chat to people along the tour. So if you are interested, I do encourage you to get in touch with the admissions team. Ben Hessenthaler is our head of admissions, and he will be contacting everybody after this webinar. So please do respond to him, and he will be happy to organise that for you. I think we have some more questions, but actually one that came through on the Q&A. If you study A-levels, do you need to have maths?
No. Do you mean as a GCSE?
Yeah, I presume so.
Yeah. If you are a British student, you will have to do a math GCSE, unless you're really going just for an art sort of progression. But it is really usually the case that you need to have GCSE math. Now, we have brilliant mathematicians to teach our students, and they always manage to get their GCSE math. So we don't see it necessarily as a problem.
Great, thanks, Mary-Do. A BTEC question, do we always offer the same 3 each year, or might it change?
That's a good question, a very exciting question as well. And we are always looking at what people want, what students want to study, and we look at ways that we can broaden our offering to accommodate that. So we are looking at performing arts as a potential BTEC offering. Beyond that, we don't really have anything in the pipeline at the moment, but we're always looking at different options. So yeah, we're open to a conversation around it. If people want to make a suggestion and point us in the direction of something, I'd definitely love to have a conversation around that.
Excellent. Just a quick one on percentage of students from overseas as against the UK. So I know our largest nationality in college is British, but I'm not sure on the actual percentages at the moment.
Well, to give you an idea, out of 300 students, you've got 44 Chinese students, so you can see that the vast majority are not Asian. And we have, on purpose, made sure that we have a lot of different nationalities among our international students. So we had last year 59 nationalities, a lot of Europeans, and obviously quite a lot of what you would qualify as international students are actually sort of people who have been educated in the British system and are coming to the UK to finish their studies before they go to university. So they would have very good English and have been part of a community which would have been sort of used to the programs. I think that's.
Yeah, I also think it depends on the course as well. Yeah. So something like the vocational courses may have a larger percentage of domestic students because they tend to know a little bit more about that type of course. but also, I think it's one of the advantages personally is that we have such an eclectic mix of students. We have a really an increasing base of UK-based students, but they also have a real cultural education when they come and visit, and they learn about other cultures. And it's I think one of the things that makes us unique, one of the things that makes us very special.
Great. At the moment, we have 300 students in total. I'll just answer that question. The school day, start time for lessons and how long?
Right, so we start at 8:50 in the morning, and the last lesson will finish at 4:55. But it doesn't mean that the student will be there non-stop. Some students will, depending on the subject and the course, may be starting later and finish early, dependent on each day. So the timetable will vary according to the kind of subjects you've taken on. But typically, year 12 students will probably be starting, I would say, 3 times a week early, and may have some free times in the afternoon. So we can sort of go back home earlier.
So some of them will use the time that they have in between classes to maybe attend some of our co-curricular activities, or attend some of the academic societies. So it's not just about those timetabled lessons as well. The structure of our day, 8:50 to 4:55 p.m, is giving them the opportunity to engage in some social activities as well, and some academic challenges that take them beyond the syllabus. I should point out that the lower school functions a little bit differently from that. So they will be in 8:50 to 4:55. They do have timetable classes throughout, but they may have afternoons where they're doing sport, for example. So it's not that they're just doing academia back to back every day. There are days where it can be quite intense, but that's part of the learning journey. We want them to be academics, so it's important that we're giving them exposure to a good study habit and a good positive work ethic. So yeah, the structure of the day, I think, speaks to that very loudly.
And do they tend to turn up on time?
Yes. You set a very good example for them, because we turn up on time. So yeah, of course they do, because every second counts, and we want the lessons. We have a philosophy of learning at the point of entry. So as soon as they walk into a classroom, their learning journey begins. It may just be a question or an image or something just to bring them into that class, to that lesson. But yeah, not a second is wasted. We don't have students turning up late. Yeah.
And I think actually they are enjoying their course, and that's why they want to be in the lessons.
Excellent. I have a question from a student who is interested in studying physics at A-level and is wondering what the minimum requirement for Maths GCSE would be to access that A-level.
Well, it depends what you're going to do with your math, with your physics. You would be doing physics, math. Depends on how you've been learning last year. We may want to, if your grade is not what we would prefer, we might want to do some math with you to see how you react.
And what would you prefer generally?
Generally a 7 minimum for math in GCSE, but I have to say, if the math is a 4, I think we need to talk about what would be the best progression, because it's not going to happen. If the student has got a 6, then we may want to understand why that was. It's a big jump for the A-level math, I have to say, that even students with an 8 or a 9 at GCSE math find it very challenging. So it's not because we only want the best, it's because really we don't want students to feel that they are not able to cope, and they have to change their subject for something that is not going to be what they wanted to do in the first place. So there is a conversation there.
And so that's the same for A-level physics, is it? That's the particular A level that they're interested in.
You would want a 7 or above, ideally, but if it's borderline, then it may be a conversation, because again, we're back to having an appreciation for the context of the student's journey. So it may be that they've not had a great experience in that year. They've maybe had a poor time at their previous school. You know, so it's appreciating the context around that conversation. There's a lot of very talented young people who just need an opportunity and to be put into an environment like DLD that helps them thrive. So yeah, it's not to say that we're going to be, you know, very prescriptive about that. But if you are looking at a subject like physics, maths is a component of that, key component of that. So if you are looking at grades below 7, there's some questions around whether or not it's even the right progression route. So yeah, that's probably the shortest way to answer that question.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's it for the questions this evening, and unless anybody has anything more. It's been incredibly informative. I think the key takeout is how flexible the college is and how we really put the students at the heart of everything that we do, and we're very interested in their journey academically and making sure that they've got the right programme in place for them. So I would encourage people to come and listen, talk to us and find out more. Sorry, John.
I just wanted to jump in and say, obviously, the nominations that we've received recently from the ISA, you know, and, you know, Test Boarding School of the Year, you know, these nominations speak to that level of pastoral care and support. And that is very closely associated with the academic support that our students receive. You know, one goes hand in hand with the other. So I think, you know, the idea of being flexible and responsive is very much how we function as a school. And it's great to see that being recognised externally. So, yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yes, we're looking forward to the awards ceremony next Thursday to find out whether we win any categories. So fingers crossed. Brilliant. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending this evening. If you do have any questions after the event, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Thank you to Mary-Do. We're very grateful for your time, and also to John. Again, thank you. And thank you to all the attendees for your time this evening. We're very grateful that you came along, and we're very happy to be able to talk to you this evening. So I will close the evening for us all now. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.